Good day, dear friends. You are on the Ruslan Belov channel. We continue to analyze the frontline situation daily. Before we begin, I ask you to subscribe to the channel and give it a like so that more people can learn the truth. Now let's move on to the situation at the front and discuss the small changes that have occurred over the past 24 hours. Sudzhansky salient. Information continues to come in from the Sudzhansky salient. The armed forces of the Russian Federation have established full fire control over the N07 highway between the settlements of Sudzha and Yunikivka. A significant number of footage from objective control sources is being published, showing destroyed equipment and ongoing strikes. All these events are taking place along this line. This indicates that gradually the noose around the Sudzhansky salient is tightening. The losses of the Ukrainian armed forces, AFU, have multiplied, particularly in equipment and personnel, not even during combat, but during rotations, ammunition resupply, and evacuation of the wounded. In any case, this marks the beginning of the end of the Sudzhansky story. It may still take many weeks, days, and nights of fighting until the last shot and the last square kilometer along the border, but this process is now irreversible. Northward to Zhuravka. Moving slightly north, we now have reports from the settlement of Zhuravka. Reliable pro-Russian cartographers indicate that Russian forces have crossed the border and are currently engaged in combat for the central part of the town. The northern part of Zhuravka in Sumy Oblast is already under Russian control, while active battles are ongoing for the central and southern areas. The AFU is trying to redeploy reinforcements and reserves, but all these movements are happening within the reach of Russian FPV drones, reducing their chances of stabilizing the front line to near zero. Further north, pro-Russian cartographers report progress in Pogrebki and Orlovka. Russian forces are advancing, and given that these settlements are the farthest from Sudzha, the likelihood of the AFU retreating southward toward Kazacha-Lopan is high. It is expected that the Ukrainian side will begin regrouping soon, due to the risk of encirclement. If Ukraine loses 10,000 to 20,000 troops in this sector, it could lead to a collapse of the front and allow Russian forces to advance deeper into Sumy and Sumy Oblast. Northern Kupiansk sector. Further north, fighting continues on the Ukrainian side of the Oskil River. Over the past day, the Ukrainian army attempted several counterattacks toward Dvorichna, using a large number of vehicles. According to objective control footage, they managed to reach the Dvorichna-Zapadne road, but the vehicles that arrived were later destroyed. The fate of the Ukrainian airborne troops in this area remains unclear. It is possible that they physically cut the R79 road between Zapadne and Dvorichna. In the coming days, we may see Ukrainian counterattacks towards Zapadne. While such attacks have not yet been launched, the situation remains dynamic. The key question is whether Russian forces can hold their current positions. Southern Kupiansk sector, Stepova-Novoselivka. South of this area, in Stepova-Novoselivka, Russian forces appear to have launched a large-scale offensive. The goal is to reduce and eliminate this pocket, the artillery trap east of Kupiansk and the Oskil River. According to cartographic data from neutral and pro-Russian sources, this pocket is gradually shrinking under Russian pressure. Expansion along the Zherebets River. Further south, Russian forces continue to expand their control along the Zherebets River. On the Ukrainian side, between the settlements of Ivanivka, Novolubivka, and Makeyevka. According to pro-Russian sources, Russian troops have significantly expanded their control zone over the past day, securing several tree lines and strongholds previously held by the AFU. The front line now runs deep within the red zone on the map. Torske and Zarichny. Finally, moving towards Zarichny and Torske, the Russian army appears to be in the final stages of clearing and storming these settlements. In the near future, we can expect the first attempts to break into Torske from both the north and the east. If you look at the geography of FPV strikes and the distribution of drones on the map, we can confidently say that at least today or yesterday, Russia has established full and firm control over the main supply route coming from Sloviansk, Lyman, and further through Zarichny to Torske. All equipment and personnel that the Ukrainian Armed Forces, AFU, attempt to move along this road are under heavy strikes from the Russian side, leading to high losses for the AFU. A few more days of such blockade, and Russia will likely launch a ground operation to push Ukrainian forces out completely. From the Russian side of the Zherebets River, this will allow Russian troops to straighten the front line and gradually advance toward the northern part of Siversk. Regarding the Siversk direction, various sources and cartographic analysts continue to publish updates. Bilohorivka and surrounding areas. As of today, there is no doubt that Bilohorivka has come under full Russian control following a decisive assault by Russian forces. At the moment, it appears that a regrouping is underway, possibly including final clearing operations of individual buildings, streets, and structures. Once these procedures are completed, Russian troops are expected to move further west toward Hryhorivka and Serebryanka. The goal may be to link up with Russian forces advancing toward Torske and then the Siversky Donets River. This could result in the two groups converging somewhere along the Dronivka-Serebryanka line, delivering a powerful strike against the northern outskirts of Siversk. Chasiv Yar, Toretsk. Over the past day, the front line in this area has remained unchanged. However, a significant amount of footage from Russian sources has been published, showing strikes on artillery, mortar, and machine gun positions, as well as temporary deployment points and ammunition depots. These attacks seem to be part of a gradual clearing operation ahead of a potential major assault toward Kostiantynivka. Meanwhile, Ukrainian sources claim that Ukrainian units have launched a series of successful counterattacks toward Toretsk, reportedly regaining full control over the central area, including the stadium zone. As of now, no objective visual confirmation has been published to support these claims, but new footage may emerge soon. Depending on this, the maps may be updated, or analysts may wait for further confirmation. Pokrovsky direction, Zverov area. The main battles here are unfolding around Zverov, where Ukraine is attempting another counterattack. Over the past few weeks, the Russian army has systematically destroyed bridges and crossings in this area to prevent another Ukrainian offensive. The last major Ukrainian counter-offensive near Pishchane was relatively successful, allowing Ukrainian forces to temporarily capture the village. However, it was later retaken by Russian forces, and all remaining bridges were destroyed. This now makes it much more difficult for Ukraine to launch a new assault. Currently, most activity is centered around Position 5, where Ukrainian troops appear to be gathering strength for a potential offensive. However, Russian drones are monitoring the area, and any significant troop concentrations are immediately targeted and destroyed. Dnieper direction, Uspenivka. According to various sources, including pro-Russian, neutral, and pro-Ukrainian reports, Ukrainian forces have managed to regain control over part of Uspenivka during counterattacks. Currently, around 67% of the village is under Ukrainian control, compared to 50% the day before, when it was partly held by Russian forces. This indicates that Ukraine has seized the initiative in this area, and further counterattacks may follow soon. Novopavlivka direction, Zaporizhzhia outskirts. Further south, in the Novopavlivka direction, the pro-Ukrainian mapping service Deep State has confirmed that Russian forces have taken full control of the western outskirts of Zaporizhzhia during recent battles. Based on available footage and Ukrainian cartographic reports, maps have been adjusted to reflect disputed areas. Further geolocated confirmations are awaited. Kostiantynopol Ukrainian sources report that on the night of February 24th to 25th, Ukrainian troops successfully withdrew from Kostiantynopol. Allegedly, over 80% of Ukrainian soldiers managed to escape the encirclement and reach the settlement of Bohatyr. Some troops may still be trapped. This information is currently being spread by Ukrainian sources, while Russian sources remain silent on the matter. It is possible that reliable data has not yet emerged. Further updates or adjustments to battlefield maps may follow by February 26th, depending on confirmation from cartographers. In the next few hours, we may receive objective control footage showing Russian soldiers advancing through the settlement, waving the Russian tricolor. Velika Novosilka direction. Moving towards Velika Novosilka, we see numerous icons on the map, all marked with flags. Today, reports from all sources indicate that Russian forces have significantly expanded their control zone, advancing north of Velika Novosilka toward Dnipro-Energia. Additionally, the settlement of Skudna is now in operational encirclement. In the near future, we may receive footage confirming this, allowing the territory to be officially marked under Russian control. Russian forces continue pushing towards small villages, but they have not yet fully entered any of them. The Ukrainian Armed Forces, AFU, have managed to establish some level of defense, but time will tell whether they can hold the line. If Ukraine fails to repel Russian advances in this sector, it could lead to a collapse of the entire defensive line up to Huliaipol, Zaporizhzhia direction. Key updates are coming from the Piaty-Katki-Lobkovy-Stepov triangle. According to various sources, including pro-Russian and neutral ones, Russian forces have significantly expanded their control zone in Piaty-Katki. Currently, Piaty-Katki is almost entirely cleared of Ukrainian troops, with ongoing battles for strongholds around its perimeter. It is unclear whether this is a one-time tactical action or if the Russian army intends to continue its advance toward Kamyanske and Stepov. Time will tell, but this sector remains worth monitoring closely. Kherson region and the Dnieper River. Over the past 24 hours, several objective control videos have been released, including footage confirming the presence of Russian soldiers and units in the dacha areas near Kherson, on the Russian-controlled side of the Dnieper River. These videos show assault operations, or possibly a rotation of forces. The rotation appears to have been conducted under extremely poor weather conditions, which may have allowed the Russian side to complete it without losses, likely because Ukrainian drones were unable to operate effectively. The footage has been geolocated to this specific area, prompting some pro-Russian cartographers to make small adjustments in favor of Russian control. Regardless of whether this was an assault, rotation, or another maneuver, there have been persistent reports online suggesting that before potential peace talks, or a final settlement, Russia may attempt to cross the Dnieper River to take full control of Kherson Oblast. These recent troop movements along the riverbank could indicate preparations for such an operation. And that's all for now, dear friends.